I did not expect to be talking about YouTube DL again, but as of a couple of days ago, 3 major music labels, those being Sony Entertainment, Warner Music Group, and Universal Music, are taking a crack at trying to get it pulled down. But what they're going after is kind of bizarre. Now, for anyone completely out of the loop, because all of this started back in 2020, the RIAA back then managed to get YouTube DL successfully pulled down from GitHub. What they did was claim it was a tool to circumvent YouTube's DRM, which they refer to as a rolling cipher. Now, this rolling cipher, this YouTube DRM, doesn't exist. So what they actually mean by a rolling cipher is a temporary download link. Normally when you access the YouTube website, that link is fed into the video player and you don't actually access it as the user. But if you use YouTube DL, instead of playing it in a video player, it just downloads the file. Now, because GitHub saw through this nonsense, they reinstated the project and also opened up a $1 million takedown defense fund. And obviously, because the project was down for a short amount of time, this caused the Streisand effect to go into full swing, and more people than ever now know about YouTube DL. There are more clones of it, there are more copies of the repo, and taking it off the internet is basically impossible. If you want to hear more about how the situation first started, I recommend going and checking out the 2 videos I did back when it originally happened. Now, as for these record labels, they've got a different target. They're not going after the maintainer, the original maintainer, any of the developers on the project, or even GitHub again. What they're doing is going after their hosting provider, Uberspace. This is a German-based web hosting company, and I have no idea if they're a good company, if you should actually use them, but this is how the YouTube DL website is actually hosted. One thing I didn't cover back when the 2020 situation happened is that alongside both GitHub and maintainer, Uberspace actually received a cease and desist letter from the RIAA as well. But the owner of the company, Jonas Pasch, didn't really care. At the time, he said, "The software itself wasn't hosted on our systems anyway, so to be honest, I felt it to be quite ridiculous to involve us in this issue anyway. A lawyer specializing in IT laws should know better." Now, I don't believe that's actually true, or at least as of now, it doesn't seem to be. So going to the YouTube DL download instructions, one of the ways to download it is by using this link right here. That is from yt-dl.org. Now, that is a different site from youtube-dl.org, or at least it seems to be. So going to this link right here actually takes you to the exact same site, and if you go and put this into an application like Ping, it points to the exact same server. So from everything that I can see, that claim doesn't seem to be accurate, but maybe at the time, it actually was. I can't go back and ping servers that don't exist anymore. Now, seeing as though Uberspace is located in Germany, the lawsuit being filed by these 3 music labels is also taking place in Germany. Now, Germany is a really interesting place for this to happen because there are some interesting precedents that the RIAA loves to reference at every single chance they get. So in the Hamburg Regional Court in 2017, this is the court that found that circumventing the rolling cipher was circumventing a form of DRM and was illegal. Now, this court has some kind of questionable rulings when it comes to anything IT related. Within this exact same ruling, they found that percent encoding, you know that thing where you take symbols you can't normally have in a URL, and then you encode it with a percent sign and some other symbol, which literally always has a one-to-one mapping that you can always work out with no problem whatsoever. That was a form of encryption. I'm almost certain that if you go to this court and say, hey, is turning my monitor off a form of encryption because you can't see the data, therefore it's encrypted, I have a feeling they'd probably say yes. Be that as it may, Germany still does have precedence when it comes to these rolling ciphers. But Germany has some other precedents as well. That is the right to have a private copy. So insofar as you're not distributing it or you're using it for commercial purposes, you can go and make a copy of videos shown to you. So if you were to say, I don't know, back in the day when we had VHS tapes, record a TV show onto a VHS. That would be perfectly fine. It makes no reference to the technology being used to make this copy, it just says that you can have a copy. And something very important to understand about video streaming is that video streaming doesn't really exist. What I mean by this is it's basically just an obfuscated video file. Even if we're watching a live stream, for example, there is no way for that data to make it from the server to your computer and then for your computer to actually play it without actually having a copy of that data somewhere on the system. It could just be in a temporary buffer, but you actually have a local copy of that file. It's just normally you wouldn't be able to access it like you would a regular file on your system. The only difference that is happening here with something like a web browser compared to YouTube DL is once that video has actually been played, the web browser gets rid of it. YouTube DL, it doesn't. Now, Julia Rieder, a former EU MP and a member of the Society for Civil Liberties, or the German name
Gesellschaft für Freiheitsrechte,
whatever that just said, weighed in on this private copy situation. Even if YouTube doesn't provide video download functionality right out of the box, the videos are not provided with copy protection. Not only does YouTube pay license fees for music, we all pay fees for the right to private copying in the form of the device fee, which is levied with every purchase of smartphones or storage media. Despite this double payment, Sony, Universal, and Warner Music want to prevent us from exercising our right to private copying by saving YouTube videos locally on the hard drive. Now, I probably can't show you this, but there are ways literally using the Google Chrome developer tools, the browser literally made by Google, to download videos directly from YouTube. It's very easy, and you can find it as probably the first search result on Google. Now, let's imagine a worst case scenario where Uberspace actually has to pull down the YouTube DL website. This doesn't actually change anything, because once again, there are more eyes than ever on the project, there'll be more forks, there'll be more re-uploads, and also it's pretty easy just to move to another web host, whether that be in the US where the RIAA is in a stalemate with a YouTube ripping site called Ute, or just move to a country that doesn't care about copyright like Nya and the Pirate Bay did. But I want to know how far we can extrapolate this DRM logic. Do we next go up against, say, screen recorders? Let's say the RIAA goes up against OBS. Because I can go onto YouTube, I can fire up OBS and hit record. And there's no way to know I'm doing that. And I can get a perfect copy of the video and also the audio. And you can't stop me. Seeing as though this lawsuit was filed just a couple of days ago, we're probably not going to hear what's going to happen for quite a while, whether that's 6 months, a year, multiple years in the case of the Ute situation, but when we actually do find out, I absolutely will be covering it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think is going to happen with the situation? Do you think YouTube DL is going to come out on top? Do you think it's just going to be a stalemate forever and nothing's actually going to be done? And the regular users just aren't going to realize anything's even happening? I would love to know. So if you like this video, I'm going to go and like the video. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, go check out my Patreon subscribe to only BarrowPay linked in the description down below. I've got a podcast called Tech of a Tea, a gaming channel called Brody Robertson Plays, and that's going to be it for me. So I'm out.